David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety. For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Mark Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety. For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Carolyn Hebert. At this time, I would ask staff if there are any additions or deletions from the agenda.
Hearing no, Sir Hebert, yes, case number B, the case number 235050, Pernamo LLC variance, that is being tabled. That's the only change to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So with that change to the agenda, I will call case 2350 5480 Javier Flores variance. Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
will you be presenting the staff case?
Yes. Hearing Officer Aber. Javier Flores. Okay.
Oh, Deb, I was talking to Roger, and we're going to wait on that. I'm sorry, I should have told you. Sorry. Thank you.
Javier Flores, applicant, Rick Chatroop, agent, request approval of a variance to allow a resident and garage to encroach on the required 50-foot setback. The property lies within the residential estate zoning district within the La Cienega and La Cienega Community District overlay, where the required setbacks are 25 feet from the front property boundary and 50 feet from the sides and rear property boundary. The property is located at 4 Reese Court within Township 16 North, Range 8 East, Section 27, Commission District 3, SDA 2. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow residents and garage to encroach on the required 50-foot setback. The property lies within the residential estate zoning district within the La Cienega and La Cienega Community District overlay, where the required setbacks are 25 feet from the front property boundary and 50 feet from the sides and rear property boundary. The applicant is requesting an approval to allow the proposed dwelling unit to be placed 10 feet from the eastern property line, side lot line, and the proposed garage to be placed 15 feet from the southern property line, rear lot line. The reason for this request is that the applicant wants to save costs by not disturbing the existing asphalt driveway to the least extent possible. The SLDC allows the La Cienega and La Cienega overlay setbacks to be reduced to the standards set forth in section 7.3, 10 feet from the front and 25 feet from sides and rear of the property. The site can accommodate both setbacks. However, the 25-foot setback from the sides and rear is a reasonable option for the applicant. Upon review of this site, it has been discovered that there are extensive poultry houses that have been constructed without permits within the setback. This use is prohibited in the zoning district. The applicant has stated that all structures will be removed. This is conditioned to be removed prior to any construction permit being used for the proposed house or garage. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria per section 4.9.7.4, and staff has responded to the applicant's comments. Building and Development Services staff has conducted a site inspection on this property. During the inspection, it was revealed that the proposed structure can meet the setback requirements. Staff recommends denial of this variance request to allow the proposed dwelling to be placed 10 feet from the eastern property line and the proposed garage to be placed 15 feet from the southern property line and 24 feet from the western property line. The applicant's request for a variance does not meet the standards set forth in section 9.8 or section 7.3. The SLDC allows La Cienega and La Cienega overlay setbacks to be reduced to the standards set forth in section 7.3, 10 feet from the front and 25 feet from sides and rear of the property line. The site can accommodate both setbacks. However, the 25-foot setback from the sides and rear is a reasonable option for the applicant. If the hearing officer recommends approval of the requested variance or allows the setbacks set forth in section 7.3, staff recommends the following conditions. Madam Hearing Officer Aber, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, please.
This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Staff requests the hearing officer memorialize findings of fact and conclusions of law in a written recommended order. The Santa Fe County Planning Commission may be holding a public hearing on this matter on August 17th, 2023. Thank you. At this time, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. I do have a couple of questions. The drive that exists on Mr. Flores's property, you said it was asphalt, so it's not a gravel or a dirt drive.
Hearing Officer Aber, we went out there to do a site visit, and it actually is not asphalt. It looks like gravel.
So it's definitely not paved?
No.
Okay. And then I had a question on what is marked as Exhibit 3, also NBA 9. Do you have that? It's
Hearing Officer Aber, I can get that.
It's a plat.
Hearing Officer Aber, which exhibit was that?
It's NBA 9, Exhibit 3. I think it was the plat that was done when the property was divided.
Hearing Officer Aber, yes, that is correct.
Okay, I note, if you'll look on Mr. Flores's section of this plat, it says down in the lower right corner, it says garage to be removed for approval. And it also appears from the photographs that I think the staff must have taken, it appears that that garage is probably still on that property. Is that correct?
Hearing Officer Aber, as far as I can see from the photos that were taken by our code enforcement officer, I do not see a garage. He believed there was over 75 cages that were housing roosters.
All right, well, let me look on, I saw all the cages. And if you go to NBA 23, what is that structure? That's what I was thinking is perhaps the garage that was on the plat.
Hearing Officer Aber, I believe that does look like a garage. However, I can't confirm it's being used as a garage. He did not mention that there was a garage.
Do you know if that structure on NBA 23, if that is on Mr. Flores's property?
Hearing Officer Aber, that is on Mr. Flores' property.
And then turning on to NBA 25, is that the house that's on the property, the split, the other part of that plat?
Hearing Officer Aber, yes, that is correct. That is address 6 Reese Court.
And then the other photographs are a lot of photographs of what appears to be the gravel drive. Is that correct?
Hearing Officer Aber, that is correct.
And there is a statement in the application that there's a 6-foot masonry wall around the property, the perimeter of the property, and I'm now looking at NBA 31, Exhibit 5. Do you have that one?
Hearing Officer Aber, I do have that in front of me.
And I see along the Reese Court, along the right side of this photograph, I can clearly see the masonry wall, and it appears it is also running along the bottom part, but the blue part that's outlining this lot makes me wonder, is it? And I guess my question is, are you aware that this masonry wall runs on the 3 sides of this property?
Hearing Officer Aber, it was our code enforcement officer that went out and took these photos. Staff that's here today haven't been out there, but the applicants here, they may be able to answer that question as far as the wall.
All right, thank you. I didn't know that.
That might help.
Hearing Officer Aber, would you like to see the photo he has?
Oh, sure, of course.
The wall on the east side of the property.
Okay.
And the trees is planted.
All right.
The gate area is right here.
All right. And so this masonry
This
wall,
would be this blue line.
and it extends
keeps-
this
yeah,
way
it goes
all the way
pretty
around?
much- Not around in the middle.
No, I understand. Okay.
But it goes around the property. I have other photos if you need.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
And when I originally did the survey, all this was not constructed. There was just a simple shed garage building on it.
Okay.
Okay, and I didn't mess on it.
Okay,
I didn't
that's
see it
fine.
was an
We
S.
can get to that on your testimony. Thank you. So, Ms. Gonzalez, go back to your testimony. The way I understand it, the provision that would allow a reduction would then reduce it, and you have the figures in your testimony. So at that point, if I were to go with the reduction, it would be 25 feet for both setbacks.
Hearing Officer Abraham, if you went with the reduction, it would be 10 feet from the front and 25 feet from the sides and rear
Okay,
property line.
all right. Thank you. Thank you for testimony. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Aber.
At this time, I'd ask the applicant or the applicant's agent to speak, please.
I do. Richard Chatroop, 110 Wagon Trail Road, Cerrillos, New Mexico, 87010.
Mr. Chatroop, are you going to present the applicants and address any of the issues that came up with Ms. Gonzalez's testimony?
Basically, I have a couple more photos I'd like to bring up to you, if you don't mind.
No, that would be fine.
Okay, and these are the photos you've seen some of these. That's the yard area.
Mr. Chatroop, if you would go back and we can discuss these photographs. I think most of these are provided by staff. I haven't seen one yet that wasn't. Well, this one with the stone fencing, it's not. I do have one of the with the gate. I'm just trying to keep at a minimum the amount of additional exhibits we need. And we'll enter the one that shows the extensive stone rock fencing, the one that shows the house on the other lot, and the one that shows the portal of that house. And so we would have 3 additional exhibits for the record. If you would continue with your presentation.
Okay. After looking at the other 2 smaller photos of the yard area, that was the area within the existing driveway that he's developed into kind of like a little park area with some mature trees and grass. That's where the well and the spigot are on the survey drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we have the design of the new house. That would force us to kind of, with 25, we're going to be into that park area. If he has to stay 25 feet from the side lot line. So that's just one of our concerns. That's what we're trying not to destroy all the parks and the large trees he's put in.
I understand.
And also looking at the code from quite a while back when this got started, for reduction in setbacks, 7.3.3.9. It says further reductions of setbacks may be considered where a combination of trees and the construction of a solid masonry wall is proposed, or where a combination of trees and an earth berm 3 to 4 feet high is proposed. The ratio of trees to square footage will depend on the variables of the site and the nuisance factors to be mitigated. So we have a whole series of rather mature trees and a 6-foot masonry wall on that east side of the property. So that was his thinking, that he could get closer to that because it's obviously going to provide quite a bit of screening for the vacant lot next door. But
That would be the lot to the east?
the lot to the east is vacant, yes.
There's no structure on that lot?
No.
But it would affect that lot. I mean, if you've got...
Oh, he's an adjoining neighbor, yes.
And to some extent, the setbacks are to the benefit of the adjoining neighbor.
Right, but he would have a pretty much, the one photo I showed you with the 6-foot wall, and those trees are already close to 20, 25 feet tall along the whole property line, in the front and that side. I don't know how much you're going to see of any house you know, they're already fairly well developed. They're not like just shrubs or,
No, I
or
can- I can
small
see that.
sticks. So he's went to quite a bit of expense to do a lot of shading and you know, blocking of his property from the other adjoining people, especially in the front. He's went to very great expense with that stone wall with the corrugated fencing. So we're just trying to reduce his expenses and make him a little bit happier. It is his house. And a reduction, even if we got it down less than like 15 or something better, so he doesn't have to push the front of his house into that park area he's developed.
So the main concern is the setback on the rear, what did we call it?
On the side, on the east side.
On the east side.
Yeah. The front is not an issue. You know, the rear is really not an issue. It's mainly just on the east side. And when I did the original lot split on this plat and he built the home, the 50-foot setback was not in place at the time the original home on the west lot that he owns was built. So that's why that is so close to the east lot line, because he was kind of do a compound for the whole thing, but he needed to have it split for the family.
I see. Well, you be the person to ask about that, the issue I had about the garage with the note on the plat that says to be removed.
It may have been removed. That original survey was 2014, I believe.
I think so. The photograph I'm looking at.
At the time I did it, there was no giant walls, that I remember. Or, you know, a lot of that wasn't developed as much as it is, you know, close to a decade later.
I guess it was in the place or similar area where all of this chicken coop is.
Right. I think that got destroyed and the chicken coop got built up, and now the chicken coop's going away. So.
Thank you. Do you have anything further to add to this
That's it. Just trying to state what he's really trying to accomplish. And you've seen the photos, and he's built a nice little park and quiet green space in the middle of his lot, and it'd just be a shame to have it, you know, if you build a house into that a little bit, you're going to lose some of those very mature trees and things like that with the footings and stuff digging up the trenches and what have you. So.
Does staff have any questions for Mr. Chatru in relation to his testimony? Is there anything that staff would like to add to this?
Hearing Officer Aber, the site plan that the applicant submitted clearly calls out a shed but doesn't show the chicken coops or all of the housing for the chickens. And I believe that's what we're looking at in comparison to the plat for the garage.
Yeah, it seems that way, that it might have been either destroyed or...
Yeah, I don't think anything, the chicken coop stuff wasn't there when I did it, so, originally. But it became that combination of buildings and sheds and...
And Hearing Officer Aber, if I may, the site plan also shows just one tree where you would have to move that proposed dwelling to the
Probably
west.
15 trees there now along the whole.
Again, so the site plan's not really,
But you're looking at what's marked as Exhibit 2, Mr. Larinaga, is that?
yes, Hearing Officer Aber.
Well, Mr. Chatru, that's a good, the area that looks like the central area with the trees, that doesn't seem as if it would be affected if the setback is as required. Would it go into that?
It'll move that house. If you look at the site plan
Looking at the site plan.
okay, and you see the dark new house there, that's shown at 10 feet off the lot line, so he's barely within the edge of the road at that point. So if we go another 15, we're going to cut off the one side of that roundabout around the park area and be into that lot, that part of the lot.
Yes, I understand that. I'm just trying to look at it and see, well, how many of these beautiful trees would be lost?
That I didn't know that I didn't even realize he had all those trees until they took the pictures, so. Or I would have surveyed them in for you.
Well, the trees actually look as if they're closer to the house across the way, I
The
guess
existing residence?
Yeah, the existing residence, it does. Okay, all right, well, thank you for your presentation.
I appreciate it, thank you.
I'll have a recommended order within 15 business days.
Hearing Officer Aber, if I may, the public hearing portion,
Oh,
comments from the public.
are there any? Is anyone here wanting to speak to this request? I don't see anyone on the screen. Did staff receive any written comments on this request?
No, staff has not received any written comments on this.
Well, it doesn't appear anyone is on WebEx, but
Right, my screen, I don't see anyone on the screen either.
Mr. Chadwick, would you like these three back and I'll give these to the court?
You can just hang on to them, they're just electronic.
Okay. At this time, I will call the next case on this agenda, and it is case number 235090 in 5090 with a 9, Francis Phillips variance. Mr. Larnyaga, are you presenting this case?
Hearing Officer Aber, yes. Francis Phillips, applicant, requests approval of a density variance to allow 2 dwelling units on a 6.54 acre parcel. Currently, there is an existing 1,340 square foot residence and a 1,440 square foot residence on the site. The subject property lies within the rural residential zoning district where the base density is 1 dwelling per 10 acres. The property is located at 35 Mescalero Trail, SDA 2, within Township 15 North, Range 10 East, Section 2, Commission District 4. On January 30th, 2023, the applicant presented a submittal application for a short-term rental registration to staff. The site plan and air photos illustrated a 2-story primary residence, a structure studio, a 2-car garage, and a second two-story dwelling. Staff conducted a search on the county database to verify whether all structures on the property had been permitted with Santa Fe County. Staff determined that the primary residence, the studio, and the 2-car garage had been permitted with Santa Fe County. The second 2-story dwelling was permitted as a 2-car garage with a storage area on the second story. At some point in time, the 2-story garage was converted into a 2-story dwelling unit. The applicant has stated that the property was purchased as is. The property is zoned rural residential. The applicant is requesting a variance of Table 8.8 dimensional standards, which illustrates the density within rural residential as 1 dwelling per 10 acres. The studio was acknowledged on the recorded plat that created the 6.5 acre parcel. Staff has verified that permits were issued for the 1,340 square foot primary residence, 2-car garage, and a 2-car garage with storage area on the second story. The applicant states, I purchased the home in 2013 and made an Airbnb rental. For 10 plus years with 5-star reviews, I've added value to the area as well as bringing significant revenue to Santa Fe County and city for more than a decade. The 3 existing structures were built and approved in 1991, 1995, and 2000. Had existing electric plumbing with 1 bedroom in each structure. I bought the home as a living space as sold to me as evidence in the purchase appraisal. Apparently, the previous seller or owners did not obtain a permit for the two-level structure as a living space. The applicant also states that he lives in the converted two-car garage and he rents the primary dwelling and the accessory structure as one single short-term rental. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria per section 4.9.7.4, and staff has responded to the applicant's comments. Building Development Services staff has reviewed this request for compliance with the pertinent SLDC requirements and has found that the facts presented do not support the request for a variance. The use may impact adjacent land uses. Rural residential zoning allows for one dwelling per 10 acres. Staff recommends denial of the request for a variance to allow two dwelling units on the 6.5 acre parcel. If the hearing officer finds the variance criteria has been met and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions be imposed. Hearing officer Aber, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, please.
Thank you. This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Staff requests the hearing officer memorialize findings of fact and conclusions of law in a written recommended order. The Santa Fe County Planning Commission may be holding a public hearing on this matter on August 17, 2023. And hearing officer Aber, I stand for any questions.
I do have a few questions. Mr. Larniago, if you look at the notice, the publication notice that's NBC 39, it states that Francis Phillips is requesting approval of a density variance to allow two dwelling units on a 6.54 acre parcel. And it lists the 1,340 square foot and the 1,440 square foot residence. But it doesn't include the studio, which I understand is also a dwelling. Is that correct?
Hearing officer Aber, the studio, the original plat showed a studio. Prior to the SLDC, we allowed an accessory structure with a full bathroom or a full kitchen. This studio had a full bathroom. So in our recommendation and actually in our conditions, I believe we stated that the studio can be administratively approved as a accessory dwelling unit because it meets the criteria. It's hooked up to the same septic, well, utilities, and it's way less than half the square footage of the main dwelling. The variance would be to have the second dwelling, pretty much the one that's not permitted as a dwelling, where it was a garage and had storage on top. That's what's causing this property to exceed the density. But the studio could actually be processed administratively to be able to use, an emphasis on the studio before this LDC, the studio or an accessory structure that was allowed a bathroom or a kitchen was not to be lived in. So that's why staff's recommending that they come in for what we call after the fact permit to label that or create that as a accessory dwelling unit.
My question was really trying to get to the adequacy of the notice, though, because it appears that on this 6.6 acres, approximately 6.5 acres, that there are 3 actual dwellings and not just 2 that are, and whether or not that affects the efficacy of the published notice. That was my question. I thank you for that other, and I do have a question as far as what the zoning prior to the adoption of the SLDC. The zoning, was that 5 acres per dwelling unit? Do you know? I know it's now 10, but in that area, was it?
Prior to that, it was, hearing officer Aber, prior to that, it was, we based the zoning on hydrologic zones. So if I would give a good guesstimate, it would be probably a 12 and a half acre minimum. And then so a lot of those lots got created pre-code or created differently, and they became 10 acres. And when we did the zoning for this, it was 10 acres. This one's a legal lot of record, even though it's only 6.54 acres.
Yes.
In a 10 acre minimum.
Okay. And I think I read in one of the many comments on this case that The commenters was on, his residence was on a 5-acre. So that's why I was confused as to what it might have been before the SLDC. So,
And as we saw in the case before, some of those lots might have been reduced in a small lot family transfer, which was allowed prior to the SLDC.
okay. But in any event, having 2 dwellings, just setting aside the accessory, the studio, but having the 2 dwellings certainly exceeds the 1 dwelling per 10 acres.
Sorry,
in this
that's
case.
correct, yes.
Okay. I looked into the Appendix B matrix, and I know this wasn't as part of your testimony. I think I even copied it out. And this was prompted by another one of the comments that stated that he felt like the applicant was running a motel. And when I look at Appendix B, under the rural residential usage, and multifamily dwellings would be a conditional use in this particular zoning. A bed and breakfast inn would be a conditional use. A rooming and boarding house would be a conditional use. Retreat would be a conditional use. I guess what I'm getting to is that anything other than a single-family dwelling, as on this part of the matrix, would be a conditional use. That's your understanding as well. I think I understood this correctly.
Hearing Officer Hebert, I understand what you're reading in the matrix. So just going back as far as the history that I read on it, Mr. Phillips came in for a short-term rental, which we do have the ordinance 2022-07, which allows a short-term rental in a residential area, in a residential
But I just
home.
interrupt you right there, but that is subject to whatever restrictions are on the deed, the covenants or the restrictions on the deed. I understand that's not the county land use issue, that would be a private issue. But, so the short-term rentals are allowed by the county, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are allowed by whatever restrictions are on the deed itself. Is that correct?
On the covenants?
Well, whatever covenants or restrictions might be on a deed, yeah.
Hearing Officer Hebert, that's correct.
Okay. I think that's all the staff questions I had. Thank you very much. And is the applicant going to speak on this issue? Oh my, Mr. Phillips, I have read the application, so I'm hoping that you're just going to present to us additional information.
That is correct. I have my old records here for the last 6 months in case something is called that I may have on file here.
All right.
That is
Thank
exactly
you.
right. Yes, ma'am.
And the court reporter will swear you in. Mr. Phillips, if you'd let the court reporter swear you in, we could.
Francis Phillips, 35 Mescalero. I have some folders to give to the hearing officer and those in need of this. Mr. Larinaga said I would need 4. Or is it 3 that I need, or how many? coincide with some of the things that I wanted to share with you today.
All right. And if you go on and make your presentation, on the understanding that we do have I have the application and I have read the application.
Excellent.
So if you would just provide any information in addition to that.
I shall. Thank you so much for your time. I know your time is valuable. As a professional here at Santa Fe for 25 years, I value that too. The items that I've gathered here are pertinent to some items that have come out since the application was submitted that I thought were needed. And then also some proof evidence such as purchase appraisals showing how the property looked in 2013, et cetera, I have with me. To begin, we have several messes to clear up as there are parties that have not been given correct information. I'd like to introduce very quickly these messes so we can clear up any confusion and clear any concerns from the start of the meeting so we can drive through the issues of the home swiftly and judiciously, if I may. Where the variance says, where the request is not contrary to the public interest, there were 15 complaints sent in, which just terribly surprised me. I was very surprised by it. And as I looked through each of these 3 days ago and prepared for this meeting, that's why I brought these items with me. It looked like 12 of the complaints came from a false email blast that was sent from the Apache Ridge Road Association. I don't know if he was the president or the treasurer, but his name is Schultze. And this was a mass email blitz sent to the Apache Ridge, which is, 3 to 5 miles long, and Mescalero is a spur that comes off of it with about 7 or 10 homes on the side.
Yes, I'm familiar with the area.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, you can address the comments, but at this time, I would like for you just to address your application vis-a-vis the code requirements and what your variance is.
Okay. It just said, there's a comment saying that I don't live at the property, but I do. I have for 10 years. It's my primary residence.
Okay, that was a question I had for you, so thank you for clearing that up.
In those complaints or concerns, it said that I'm renting my own property, the 2-story unit, which is not true at all. I've never rented my home. This is what I was wanting to cover, which may be some of your questions already, so that we could stamp out some concerns. I'm not this aggressive, greedy person here to make money and create traffic and use the water and the conservancy of the district there. And it's, because of this false email, I wanted to address that particularly, and I've written in your file folder, it says Santa Fe Commission Review Board, false information sent in mass email to all Apache Ridge Association owners, that's the residents there. I reviewed and saw 13 complaints. I was shocked to find them. I'm deeply saddened by Mr. Schultz sending this out. Number one, he says, I have 3 dwelling units, and that is where a lot of confusion was that you and Mr. Larinaga were talking about. There's a main house and a studio that are combined as one dwelling unit with this accessory unit. And if I understood in your, you have narrowed this down to 2 dwelling units, is that correct?
Yes, with the option of getting an after-the-fact permit for the studio to make it an accessory dwelling unit.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that there is that possibility of having the...
Because the initial variance announcement was confusing.
Yes.
So, and because of that, people were writing in saying, he has 3 rentals over there.
Well,
and he's also renting his home.
Mr. Phillips, conceivably...
So there's only one. There's always for 10 years, the main house and the studio are rented together. And the studio is 10 feet in a breezeway where you have 2 bedrooms in one, the 3rd bedroom in the other. And they're rented together, always have.
Thank you, okay.
Currently, Francis Phillips does not live on the property. This is entirely false. My driver's license, my taxes, I've lived here, worked overtime, 80-hour work weeks here, and that has always been my primary home and residence. Number 3, he does not live on the property. He's already renting some of these units as short-term rentals. We've addressed that. Number 4, if you are concerned, this is the same email that was sent from the Apache Ridge Road Owners Association in the email blitz. He states, if you are concerned about someone having a commercial venture in a residential zoned neighborhood, then you have the opportunity to voice your concerns. So this is kind of getting over to short-term vacation rentals and commercial, but it was the Paul Kelly complaint where all this came from. And as I noticed on the Paul Kelly complaint, interestingly, right below it, where he had not taken this off, was the blast email to all the Apache Ridge residents there, and that's what I'm reading from here. Okay, so it's Exhibit NBC 19 in the original package, the complaint from Paul Kelly, which was a very short paragraph, says live and let live kind of guy. It's just our road, our maintenance, this isn't right. But then below it, you see an email from June 12th of 2023 from Matt Schultze, Apache Ridge Board at gmail.com.
Which, could you again give me the site on that?
NBC 19 in the lower right-hand corner.
All right.
And the complaint was from Paul Kelly. And right below it, you'll see the tag email. Because I was like, why in the hay are all these people from Apache Ridge complaining when I'm over here at Mescalero? And then I just located this and went, oh, the Apache Ridge Road Association, I don't know if he's president or whatever, did an email blast. So that explains why you have 12 complaints coming in from erroneous things that were sent out by him. Okay? So that's very important to point out. Continuing on, he says, if you're concerned about someone having commercial, the next piece I have in that folder is from the Los Alamos Reporter yesterday, where it says short-term rentals are not businesses. It states that the New Mexico State Appellate Court ruled that renting a dwelling to people who use it for the purpose of eating, sleeping, and other residential purposes does not violate the prohibition on commercial business activity. What he's pointing out is vacation rentals are not commercial. They're not a commercial business. So in about 8, 9, 10 of these complaints, he's stating that it's commercial. I have a commercial, just like you read from William Woods, 2 parcels down, calling it a motel, which obviously it's not. I live in one dwelling, and I rent out to the other as a vacation rental. And in 2013, when I bought the home, I had instructed my realtor, a very good friend of mine that I worked with, saying, I'd like to find a home with a large guest house and a main house that I could rent out to supplement my income at retirement because I don't have a pension. So I would work and live what was the 2-car garage conversion that was converted to a 1-bedroom when I bought it.
I understand. This was
I
in
live there
this was in your application.
and rent out the main house.
Yes, Mr.
So
Phillips.
far from what the Apache Ridge is sending out and where they got this information from, I just don't know. Number 5, originally the hearing was set for June 8th, but it was been postponed until July 15th because Francis Phillips has failed to alert his neighbors by mail and also didn't post the variance notice in the New Mexican. I just about fainted when I read that.
You don't need to go into the notice issues. Mr. Larrañaga looked at the notice issues. I just questioned him about that, and we're satisfied there was adequate notice, so we don't need to go into that.
I'm not satisfied because I received, and in my documentation that I've given you in the second paperclip, where Gabriel Bustos that worked in, and Mr. Larrañaga and I have a very good relationship. He's been extremely helpful for me in the last 7 months working through this. Regretfully, though, there was a staff member in his group, Paul Bustos, who sent me the directions saying I needed to send out, it was about 7 or 8 different adjacent neighbors, the letter, the variance letter, and also put it in the newspaper.
Mr. Phillips,
in his paragraph, he did
Mr.
not.
Phillips, let me interrupt you. Notice is not an issue in this case.
It is to me because it's all the complaints that come in, and the variance depends greatly on where the request is not contrary to the public interest. So I'm addressing the public interest, which was skewed incorrectly because I was sent incorrect instructions where his paragraph, and I have the proof of that, did not say these need to be sent out in 15 days. It gave no dates.
The issue that we're looking at here is the density of this property.
I understand.
And that's what I'd like for you to limit your.
Okay. These people that wrote in complaints have an idea that I tried not to send out a letter.
I hear what
which
you're
is
saying.
totally
I
false.
understand what you're saying.
I was given incorrect information by Mr. Bustos. So much so that it moved my entire summer for a hip replacement I had scheduled in May to come here June 8th for this meeting. I needed that hip replacement, and now I can't get it to August 23. I've had a left eye surgery, a right eye surgery. So I had to work around a lot of things, and I hope you will please take the time to review what all happened here.
I certainly will.
Okay, because it's not in the original folder. This is what occurred. And because these complaints came, I'm like, I'm not the person that would just ignore instructions of sending out letters. If anything, Mr. Larinaga will know, I'm always sending him emails saying, I need this, I need that, I need it, because I know they're overworked, they're trying to keep up with everything, and I'm trying to make my case work.
Mr. Phillips, I want you to address your issues to the density request that you're asking for.
Okay.
I'll ask you a question. Do you have a well on your property that serves just your property?
I do. I do have a well, and I also have paid $10,000 for a gray water capture cistern so that any landscaping done on the property is done by rainwater.
Okay, good.
To protect, because again, these complaints look like the hotel, the motel, and all the extra people there. It's not. This was for drought issues in years past, and also making sure that my well is sufficient in the years to come. So I've been taking extra efforts to conserve water, and also 3 water barrels as well, which was part of my presentation today.
Okay.
I also have in the folder I gave you the landscaper for 10 years who's talked about pulling 200 trees, the water, how conservancy, and then also my housekeeper of 13 years also talking about how she found the property in the beginning, which we'll talk about here in a second, and how the type of profile of people that come there are normally in their 50s or 60s, they're retired or semi-retired. Usually it's about 2 or 3 people, they're high net worth, and it's not a party house. It's a very conservative vacation rental. So if anything, we have less traffic, not more, by myself living there, and few residents that normally stay there, or guests, no different than a family of 4 down the street going back and forth to Santa Fe and doing what they do. I would say they use the road and the water more than we do. And then I also have put in there the short-term, the check-in instructions that specifically tell the clients, the guest, please, we are in a drought area, to please take short showers, always have for 10 years. Do not burn wood, and then also water, and then the roads. We're not Scottsdale. We are Santa Fe, New Mexico, a high desert mountain ski town. You need to have a 4-wheel drive, an all-wheel drive, a 4x4. So these have been my proactive steps to make sure I'm not bothering my neighbors. So to answer your question, I'll tie it into the well as I was trying to squeeze in all this extra information and evidence and testimonials from other people.
Is there anything else in this packet that you wanted to expand upon? And I will read all of this in the packet.
I do. I have a very organized recap here to share with you, and I have a few documents to share with you that are very important.
Right.
So in 2013, I asked my realtor, a very good friend of mine, I was a mortgage banker here for 20 years, said, for my retirement, I'd like a home with a guest house, a large guest house for me to live as my primary, and a vacation rental, the large house. That's what we did. I invested maybe $300,000 from start till now improving the property. I never changed plumbing. I never changed electricity. What was a toilet was replaced as a toilet. What was a kitchen sink was replaced as a kitchen sink. But everything was greatly improved. And what attracted me the most to this property was this 2-story, what was an old car garage in 2000, on the second floor had a one-bedroom home. And I was like, perfect. This is my home. I'll improve it. And I have. And it's a beautiful home with iron steps, looking very modern. It also has stacked stone interior walls, beautiful floors, beautiful granite counters, and beautiful kitchen, dining, living room, etc., where I've lived for 10 years. 10 years, then the next following year, I did add a 2-car garage and a storage building that was permitted with Dennis Niedermeyer, the contractor, and that was permitted. So everything there, to my knowledge, had been permitted. In 1991, there was originally a studio, although a studio that we call today does not have a kitchen and a bath. That one did. It had a kitchenette, as it was when I bought it. Today, Mr. Larinaga said, take the sink out, so it's a true studio today, which I have done, and he has signed off on that. So we had a main house that needed vast improvement. It was almost like a foreclosure property in very bad shape. A main house was built in 1995, approved by the county. I have the plans with me there that were in the attic. And then in year 2000, a 2-car garage with a walk-in second floor, as you read there. A year later, I added the 2-car garage permitted and the building. 10 years later, January 30, I'm here to apply for a vacation rental permit as required, and I am blindsided by the questions of this 2-car garage conversion, one living room that I lived in. And do you know when that was permitted? And I said, no, I don't. And they said, we don't see any permitting on that. They'd also said, did you have the 2014 garage permitted that I built? And I said, yes, I did. They said, we don't show anything on that either. And dumbfounded by all of this, I was like, I told the group I wasn't 100% sure. I was 110% sure that I permitted the 2-car garage and building because I worked with Dennis Niedermeyer, and I have with me the yellow form that you had to post, etc. Someone in that group left the meeting, came back and said, yes, we see online that it was permitted. So that was cleared up, that confusion, and that was shown that it was permitted. So the 1991 studio, the original home of 504 square feet, was the original structure by itself, approved by the county. In 1995, the main house was built right next to it, where I've given Mr. Larinaga the plans where I've shown them to them before that I found. And then I was asked to contact Francine Lobato, the state attorney, to go back into the archives to find the other plans. She sent them. We saw the 2000 2-car garage, and that's where it was all enlightening to me because I had never seen these. It wasn't presented to me for the purchase. It wasn't made available for me. And come to find, this was a 2-car garage, walk-in, second floor. That was approved in 2000. Now, William Jacobs' name was on that in 2000, so he must have been a previous owner for 35 Mescalero. And then Kathleen O'Day came after him, and then I don't know if anyone else was in that period. Those are just the only 2 that I'm aware of. So when I bought the home in 2013, I'd like to show you again, please, what I bought, which was exactly what I've described. May I give you this evidence, please?
What is this?
It is from, that would be a good question, yes. It's from the 2013 purchase appraisal for when I purchased the home from Anna Tyndall. And it shows specifically in writing, forgive me for using a magnifying glass to read because of this surgery I had a few weeks ago. Here it is.
Mr. Phillips, I don't think anyone's disputing the fact that these structures all were there when you purchased the property.
Okay.
That's not an issue.
Okay, I have stockpiled some evidence to make sure my word is honored.
I
For that
don't
reason.
think that's an
And that
issue
there is
in this case.
a one-bedroom home in there, and there are pictures of it from this appraisal that I would like for you to have, please. The description of it, as well as the pictures of it. I also have with me a paragraph from the covenants.
What covenants?
I'll take a moment so you could look
I'm
at
sorry,
that if you like.
your covenants on your specific property?
I was just going to give you a moment just to glance at that if you'd like to, please. This was from 2013, where I luckily still had the purchase appraisal to back up what I'm saying here. And this was the two-car garage that you're looking at, which was a one-bedroom living room house, one-bedroom house.
Well, it does say that it has a studio apartment above.
Right. In the listing of Santa Fe properties, it was listed as a large two-car, a former two-car garage with a loft. And I'm happy to give you that description too.
No, I actually have.
Okay.
I didn't have the first 2 pages, but the other 2 were in the packet. So
Yes.
I had the photographs. Thank you.
Okay. So also, when I bought the home, I wanted to be sure that vacation rentals were allowed. I'd hate to put this money in and then find out later you can't. As a lender, I know there are covenants for properties out there. Some you can, some you cannot. So in the Mescalero Road covenants from 1984, it specifically lists that you can have residential properties and structures. It does not tell you how many. It does not put a cap. It also does not mention anything about you cannot rent property. That's not discussed there as well. Okay? So our understanding of the covenants, which is why we went ahead and bought the home, is there was no cap on structures, and there's nothing saying that you cannot have a vacation rental.
Could I just stop you right there? You didn't believe there was no cap on structures, having had the background in business you've had. You knew that there must be some zoning requirements, didn't you, Mr. Phillips?
No, not at all. Not at all. This is it was very common buying homes with main houses and guest houses, or a main house and a guest and a studio.
No, I know.
Very common.
I just more specifically, you said you didn't think there was a limit.
Oh, I'm just saying, well, because today, we're here today saying only 1 per 10 acres. That's the state thing as of 2016, or the county thing, or else it's state or county, I forget which. But as for the covenants, it doesn't say anything about 1 for 10 acres or anything. It just says you can only,
Okay.
And I have that paragraph here. That's what I'm trying to,
All right.
maybe not doing a good job of explaining. The county, as of 2016, 1 per 10 acres, right? But the covenants doesn't address it at all.
When you bought the property, what was your understanding as far as the number of dwellings you could have on your property when you bought it in 2013?
I never thought about it. I thought, this is it, it's done. I'd love to buy it. There wasn't a thought of building more structures at that time. Not at all. I was just very happy to find a main house with I thought it was perfect for what I wanted, a home where I could live in and rent out the other home. That's why I bought it. But then a year later, I thought, I don't have a 2-car garage. I do need to add a 2-car garage, which was permitted and approved by the county. And here is the Mescalero covenants. And then we knew that there were other Airbnb properties on Mescalero and the road down in Apache. So I knew, okay, good. I'm buying a home where it's okay to rent for vacation rentals. So I went ahead and bought it. And then also in my research here, going through Zillow and the other properties of Mescalero down, there are other homes that have 2 or 3 structures as well. All okay. It was very common. So when I said, is this against the wishes of the people there, others had them too. And I have that documentation here as well.
I think that was also in the application that you indicated.
Was it the covenant that looks like this paragraph here?
No, that
And
particular
then-
one was not.
And they were clips from Zillow from about 3 or 4 different properties that had 2, 3, or 4 structures on them, which were all okay because before 2016, there was not a 1 per 10 acre thing. But there are other homes there as well. And that's why I said, okay, good. It's okay to do that.
Okay.
Which is why I bought the house. It met what my needs were.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I would like for you to have this just in case it's something in there that's not in
All right.
the original handouts. Thank you. And I also have with me I'll take a moment for you to look at that. Okay. I addressed 12 of the 15 complaints, and the other two, I could be very brief. 2 are from Mescalero Road, and one was a Miss O'Hari, who I've never met, and it was about the muddy road situation. Mescalero Road, it was formerly scraped incorrectly. The person scraping it would scrape it like a bathtub, so all the water would not go over, it would just accumulate. So when we had snow runoff and warming, thawing of winter, it would be like a Brazilian rainforest and a mud crazy for a 4x4 Jeep Wrangler to have a heyday and just get all dirty. That's how that road was. And there was a time when one of my guests got stuck in that mud, but so did 3 other people. Who they were not having no affiliation with me, I don't know. Residents, people coming through or whatever. She expressed anger about that and how it delayed her appointment for her not being able to get through the road. And my answer is, it's not the guest that's at fault, it's the road and how poorly managed it was. I have always paid Mescalero Road. It doesn't have an official association, but someone spearheads and we collect money. And some people pay, some people don't pay. I've always paid. And as this muddy situation came in, I said, guys, we're doing this all the wrong way. It needs to be a crown with gravel so the water runs off. They have since, and Mr. Zachary also agreed, and they have done that since, and the road should be fine. So I think that covers that problem that she had for Ms. O'Hari. The other 2 was more of a personal issue, and there is a road, it was Malachi and Amori.
But Mr. Phillips, I don't think we need to get into the personal issues about
Okay.
this. We're
I'm just
talking
saying it's a
about the
reason
density.
for the complaints where I did not agree to do an easement and from our property over to their back property, because those can be complicated. I didn't mean any ill harm by it. Just like I asked my neighbor, the land, can I possibly ask for a purchase of 10 acres, because it looks like with the vacation rental permits, what I have purchased, I have a wraparound. And she said, I'm really not interested in doing that either. I said, I totally understand. So I understood her, but these people did not understand me, and there we have a complaint kind of triggered.
All right.
So that, I think I've covered all 15 complaints,
Okay.
which I was just dying to do. Thank you for letting me do that. I have year 2000 appraisal. When a refi, I'm sorry, year 2020, in case you want to see what the property looks like today. And you can see all the improvements were done. And then if you would see for permitting, every bath, sink, everything is at the same place. There's no reconfigurations. Is pull it out, put one in. It's just the improvements.
I would like to go back, Mr. Phillips. You said that on the studio.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
You took out a sink. Is that what you said?
When I purchased the home originally, this was the 1991 first original tiny structure of 504 square feet.
Yes.
And interestingly, it was called studio from the beginning. So I'm guessing that owner was forecasting, saying, I'm going to put my studio here and the main house here, and he built his studio first, and then the main house in 1995. That little studio, I saw in other appraisals, including this one, that property, the studio, was really, it had a kitchenette.
When you purchased the property,
And
did
then
it have a
years later,
kitchenette?
it still had a kitchenette and and the bathroom walk-in shower.
And what does it have right now, today?
So to answer your question, when Mr. Larinaga came, he saw that studio and he said, well, today's standards, you can't have a studio that has both a kitchen and a bathroom. So you'll have to remove that little kitchen. It was like a bar sink. Is what I had inherited when I bought the house.
Okay.
So
that's
I
all.
did pull that out, and I gave him an affidavit February of 2023 saying that this had been done. So it would conform to, I guess, today's studio requirement. And if I've misspoken, please correct me.
Well, I will ask Mr. Larinaga
Okay.
if he has comments
Right.
when you're completed.
So to answer your question, that little bar sink to make that a little dinette kitchenette in that Master King bedroom suite was pulled out. So it's a studio of today's definition. But that's how it was all along.
So no
From
kitchenette, but a
1991.
bathroom.
Pardon?
No kitchenette, but a bathroom. Is that correct?
It has a bath. It is a Master King bedroom. It's the third bedroom. The main house has 2 bedrooms, and the guest house, I call guest house, but on plans it's called studio, has a Master King suite, a walk-in shower, a sitting room, which used to be the little kitchenette, which is now a sitting room, and the king bed.
Okay.
It's the third bedroom.
Thank you.
For the vacation rental as the one dwelling unit. Is what I was advised to do.
Do you have anything else to add to your application?
I did ask if you would like to see what the interior of these structures look like for 2020.
I don't need to see that.
Okay,
Thank
I have
you.
that with me. And if I could just look through my notes really quickly here so I don't forget something.
Certainly.
Because there's just so much volume here, I apologize. So I'm just stressed about getting everything in, that's all.
Understand.
Okay,
Take your time.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Do you have anything else to add to your application?
I just have just one last comments. So back to the Apache Ridge group, in my complaint, or I guess observance of what all happened here with the complaints here, I concur where they were complaining that why should Mescalero people be driving through Apache Ridge, and I concur. I've always thought we should be paying something. But also, I reached out to the county to get Mescalero straightened out, and the county told me I had to get 300 signatures to get them to look at the road and work on the road, the Mescalero road. And I said,
for the county to work.
right. And I said 300 signatures. This is like 7 or 8 years ago I called. And I said, there was only like 7 or 8 residents here, so I just gave that up.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally concur with Apache Ridge residents where they're like, we don't want people coming through Apache Ridge and using up our road. I said, I concur, and we should be paying too. But the amount of guests that I have are very small. It's just me as well. I'm back and forth to Savannah, Georgia, where my 97-year-old mother has been in the hospital, hospitalized twice there. My husband, his mother, was also there calling in family where she's going down as well. So I've been back and forth there. So if that's been a reason why somebody thought I didn't live there, I've been back and forth to Savannah a lot in the last 6 months for family. But this is my home. And when I come back, as we are here today, I purchased a home so I could have a home to live in, to retire, and a second home to rent. And that's what I thought I had. And unknowingly, I was told I was in violation, and I've inherited this from who I bought the home from. And I've worked feverishly to show and prove I bought this, that's how it was. And not the listing agent, not Santa Fe Properties, who I have a great relationship with. I have a great relationship with the listing agent, not the title company, who I adored the person at the title company. No one had anything to say about zoning or anything like that. The inspector did not either. And then in 2014, when I had the two-car garage built and added, the person that approved that could clearly see my home and never said anything. And then 10 years later, I'm showed an aerial views and asked about permits, and I'm here today.
I understand, Mr.
So I need your help, and I hope this variance goes through, because financially, you're looking at a $1.4, $1.2 million property clearing out 1,300 square feet that I bought. You have privacy walls, you have bricks, courtyards, portals. You just can't, a wood deck behind it. You can't undo this. It's set up and beautiful. So it's not, there was no malicious or anything or trying to get around. There was nothing. I bought something that was there and okay to buy.
Thank you. I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Larrañaga, would you like to make any comments in relation to what you've just heard?
Can I stay here or return, or what do I do?
You can return.
Hearing Officer Aber, I'd just like to clarify. So the 1996 code, the code in place prior to the SLDC, allowed us to issue a permit for an accessory structure with a full bathroom or a kitchen. So this studio was probably issued a permit, but maybe we don't have on file for an accessory structure back then with a full bathroom. That's why I recommended for Mr. Phillips to take out the kitchen, and that would be in compliance right now as a studio that was built in prior to the 2016 code.
But as I understand, Mr. Larrañaga, you indicated that he could also get it permitted after the fact as an accessory dwelling, and then in that case, he could have the kitchen and the bathroom. Is that correct?
Hearing Officer Aber, that's correct. And also, the studios or accessory structures that we issued prior to 2016 were not to be resided in. They weren't a residence. It was a studio to do art, to do workshop, wherein that way you could have a full bathroom in there. And the going forward to permit it after the fact as an accessory dwelling with a full bathroom and a kitchen, that would allow that structure to be used for the short-term rental as a rental.
Yes, I understand. And the 1996 code, again, I think you already answered my question, but I did fail to write it down. At that time, that area on Apache Ridge and Mescalero Trail, I'm not even sure Mescalero Trail was there in 1996, but at that time, what's your understanding of the zoning at that time as far as density in that area?
Again, I'm trying to. The zoning was developed through the hydrologic zone. So it could have been mountain, where it could have been 10 acres, or it could have been basin fringe, where it could have been 12 and a half.
So it would have been one or the other.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else that you wanted to?
No, hearing Officer Aber. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd ask if there's any public comment on this matter. Any hands? Okay, I see one person who wants to speak. And if you would come up and, two people, all right, if you'd come up and be sworn in.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Name and address? Kristen Ryan, 25A Lone Pine Ridge.
Ms. Ryan?
Hello.
Hi.
So if I understood Francis Phillips correctly, on a few points I wanted to add. If I heard him correctly, I thought he said he lives there, and he does not live at 35 Mescalero Trail. It is rented out. It's called Casa Apache. I've printed it out here. He even states on this website that he does not live there. He rents out the full property. It is a very popular property. It's rented out now totally through August, through July and through August. So I want to add this in if I could. Also, so Apache Ridge Road is a neighborhood that we fund the maintenance of our road. And it is voluntary, but Mr. Phillips stated that he pays all the time. We have 0 recordings of any payment for the road maintenance from 35 Mescalero Trail. So Mr. Phillips' renters get the benefit of Apache Ridge Road, and he pays nothing for the maintenance of it. So I would just like to correct that in the record. And he was very upset about the 50 or so emails, I think, that went in. And the reason is that we are concerned about him and what he's doing there on that property. And so we voiced our concerns about our dirt road is very vulnerable, even just to the residents that live there. But then to add on all his renters that come and go, his landscapers, his cleaning people, all of that. So many of us see all the out-of-state plates. So it is a commercial venture. It is not his private residence. He does not live there. And the people on Mescalero Trail especially are impacted, and they do call it the illegal motel because that many cars, that many people in and out all the time negatively impacts our neighborhood and especially Mescalero Trail.
Ms. Ryan, when you were sworn in, I thought I heard you say you lived on Lone Pine Ridge.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I thought you said you lived on Lone Pine Ridge. Is that
So Apache Ridge Road is the main road that comes in.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of side roads. Mescalero Trail is one of them. Lone Pine Ridge is one of them. Okay. So, but we are all part of the Apache Ridge Road Association.
So Mescalero Trail doesn't have its own separate, as far as you know, its own separate road association? It's all...
It does not.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to say that I really don't want the emails that we all spent time and effort and good thought to send in to be discounted by Mr. Phillips. We sent them all in to Jose. Is that you, Jose? Oh, hi. And he does have them on record. I'm assuming you shared them with Mr. Phillips. But these were not flippantly written. This is our neighborhood. We care about our neighborhood. And we care when somebody abuses their role as a neighbor. And we feel that Mr. Phillips is doing that. He currently now has also a chain link fence up on part of the property with a construction sign on it, as if new construction is about to happen, which he didn't mention. So I would like thought be given to all that we wrote, because a lot of us have lived there a lot longer than Mr. Phillips, and we've never seen anybody come in and disregard the neighborhood as he has.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. And I have copies of all of those emails as well, and I've read
Okay,
them.
good. I just want you to know that those are real and true. Those are our experience with him and what he's doing or not doing, as the case may be. He's not contributing to the road.
Thank you.
He said he did. He says he lives there. He doesn't live there. So I think these are things to be taken into account.
Thank you for your testimony.
So I'd like to add this into the record. This is his, this is the website. It's called Casa Apache, his commercial venture. This is my email. You already have that. On this, it clearly states that he does not live there. He rents out the entire property. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak to this matter? Yes, please come forward.
Alankin, A-L-A-N-K-I-N, Roybal, R-O-Y-B-A-L. Address 37 Apache Ridge Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505. Yeah. Yes, I'm one of the residents that wrote an email as well, and as far as I know, everything that we wrote about in those emails is accurate. So his own neighbor, William Woods, says that he doesn't live there, and he lives. I live a bit ways away. I'm Kristen's neighbor, actually. But yeah, like she said, the main road just goes through there, and everyone that accesses these side roads has to drive that road. So those properties are, you know, impacted by the Airbnb, which you can see the listing online. And it did look like there was a chain link fence. Well, there was a chain link fence with a construction notice on there, like there was going to be more building. So, and I guess he's had a lot of problems with William Woods. And that's where a lot of this information is coming from. And we have a email, like what Mr. Phillips referred to as a email blitz. It's just a community email, like newsletter. So if there's bears or something in the neighborhood, important issues. And so this came up, and it got the attention of a lot of people. And I guess neighbors closer to him have been having issues with him quite some time. So yeah, as far as I know, like all of that information is correct. That was reported in our emails. So that's, and we have concerns about wildfire, water usage, and things of this nature with a high volume of people, you know, and we're also concerned about precedents, you know, like if this is allowed to continue, what's going to stop more people from, you know, increasing the population density. So, and, you know, the renters in these Airbnbs, they could be from out of state, a lot of them, and not familiar with our fire hazard in the area. And that's a big concern of ours. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Mr. Roybal, Mr. Woods, William Woods, does his property abut Mr. Phillips' property?
Yeah, I think it's adjacent to his, so I think he's his closest neighbor. Oh, he's across the street.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Yes, well, come forward.
That chain link fence, I've just been informed that that chain link fence does not belong to Mr. Phillips for something he's going to do. It's for some people who bought a bigger piece of property down the way. So if we could correct that to the record.
All right.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else here that wants to make a comment on this application? Yes, well, please come forward.
Yes. Carmen Macumbi, 2308 Calle de Luminoso, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505. Thank you. Thank you. I have known Francis Phillips for many years and have been to his property many times, numerous times. And he does live there. He entertains his friends from Santa Fe occasionally with dinner parties, and he may have guests that come and go, but they are not numerous guests. They are not tearing up the road. I have other friends that live off Apache Ridge Road, and they also have people that they entertain lovingly, I might add, and I just don't agree with the testimony of other people here that say it's a detriment to the community. He's beautified the property and does everything he can for ecological purposes, and I just wanted to state that for the record as well.
Thank you, Ms. Macumbi.
Thank you.
Are there any other people in this room that want to make a comment on the application? Do we have anybody we don't know about the WebEx?
Hearing Officer Aber, seems to be no one wanting to testify on the WebEx.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, if you would come up here and if you would please keep it up briefly.
Be very brief. Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Ryan for coming back and explaining that the fence, I have nothing to do with that. That is another neighbor who's building their home. I don't know anything about that. On Airbnb and VRBO, you promote your listing there as your residential property for rent. And you can either promote it as a home that you allow people to come into your home and rent a bedroom, or a home that you're not in. So that's why it says, I don't live there. Okay? And we're talking about the first dwelling unit, which is the main house and the studio, which I do not live in. And it 100% is a vacation rental and has been for 10 years, that one property. The second dwelling unit, which is a 2-story, was an old 2-car garage that got, the old 2-car garage that I bought that had been converted to a home. That's where I live. And that's on 35 Mescalero. I have a driver's license here to show and prove I've lived there for 11 years. That's my home. I've never rented it ever. I don't want to. That's my personal stuff in there. And the fence you've just talked about. So thank you for that. The other gentleman, William Woods. I don't have any problems with any neighbors, but a lot of neighbors have a lot of problems with William Woods. And he has a lot of passion for the property. He was one of the main owners of the land, along with the Birds, that subdivided this and sold it off. He does not live across from me. He does not live next to me. He does not adjacent to me. He is 2 parcels away from me. And I've only had 3 occasions to meet Mr. Woods in 10 years. The first, when I had pink flags to do my survey boundaries, and he ripped them off the trees. And I asked him, please, I wanted to keep my pink ribbons there so I know where my boundaries were. The second time was in 2014 when he saw the 2-car garage going up, and he was yelling down the street, you cannot do that. And that was permitted and approved by the county to build a 2-car garage. The third time, 2 years ago, I was considering buying the land next to me. And then Woods is next door. And that's why I have a little information about that. And for that land, I was thinking about building a vacation rental. But luckily, Mr. Woods' opposition, because he has his own home, he has 2 homes. One of them has, what is it called? an encroachment on the property. And I contacted him and said, would you be able to sign a clearing form of the encroachment? And he said, absolutely not. And you guys, you're nothing but a motel over there, which it is not. It's a vacation rental home, Airbnb and VRBO, and has been beautifully for 10 years. So those are my 3 occurrences with William Woods. At the front of his home, you'll see, like if you're returning an Avis car and you have those studs, he has a makeshift set of studs that look like jaws, and it says, "Do not pass this." So
Okay, we
that's
we
who
don't
he
need
is.
to have any more testimony about Mr. Woods.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this will be the last comment. Ms. Ryan, yes.
So as you can see, this has a lot of complexity to it, has a lot of personalities, it has a lot of things going on that I think we just want to get back to the variance that's being asked for, the rural RURR-R, which is 1 dwelling per 10 acres. A variance is being asked on that, and I'm sorry that all this personality and everything came into this. There's a lot of conflict, obviously, but we could tell stories back about things that he has said after he badmouthed William Woods, but I want to say I'd just like to get back to the variance.
Yes, thank you, Ms.
Yeah.
Ryan. It's always an emotional issue with property.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, we're going to close this unless staff has any other issues for this matter. Mr. Larrañaga, do you have any other comments?
Thank you, Hearing Officer Hebert. After looking at the items that, I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't get her name. Ms. Ryan brought in, it's advertising 3 bedrooms. And in a document that Mr. Phillips submitted to us, each house, the 1,400 square foot home and the 1,300 square foot that was converted into a home, each have 1 bedroom, and then you have what we're calling the studio that he's calling a bedroom. I might be mistaken, but I'd like to ask Mr. Phillips if the main dwelling has 2 bedrooms.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Phillips, could you come up here and address just that question that Mr. Larrañaga has? He's saying that you're advertising 3 bedrooms on your websites, on your ads.
Yes. On the Airbnb at list, there's 2 bedrooms in the main house. The second bedroom is...
So let me just stop you right there. There are 2 bedrooms
and 1 bath.
In the main house.
Correct.
Okay, does that answer your question, Mr. Larrañaga?
Hearing Officer Hebert, yes.
But Airbnb versus reselling at home, it would be resold as 1 bedroom because the second bedroom does not have a closet. It has a bureau.
Okay, thank you.
So,
okay, so
but if it were sold one day, it would be listed as a 1-bedroom home, not a 2-bedroom home. But on Airbnb, it's listed as a 2-bedroom home because you're allowed to close in an area with a bureau, although it doesn't have a closet.
Hearing Officer Hebert, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other comments and there's no one attending, is there any other matter that staff has on this case?
Hearing Officer Hebert, no further comments. Thank you.
Then this matter will be closed, and I'll issue a recommended order in 15 business days. And thank you all for your attendance and your testimony.